Daredevil Born Again is officially over. The first season is out, and now we can look at everything, the good and the bad, and, well, see where exactly it stands compared to the previous 3 seasons that, of course, were produced by ABC for Netflix. So let's get into a spoiler-free review, at least for the last episode, but I will be talking about spoilers from the first 8 in this. And here's my spoiler-free review. Okay, so once again, this will not include spoilers from the season finale, and it's largely based on spoilers from the first 8 episodes, ignoring the 9th because, again, it's still fresh and all that. Either way, though, I will account things that happen in the final episode, just not mention them directly in a spoilery manner. So, let's get to this. So, starting off with Daredevil Born Again, there is a show here that is largely 2 different things mashed together. And you can tell that this is how the show went back to the drawing board at first, and then they retrofitted the new stuff, and they more or less tried their best to stitch together the old TV series, which didn't see Matt Murdock return as Daredevil till the 5th episode. And only briefly for 1 scene, and then again, he was going to be suitless till about the 8th. Now, when they went back to reconfigure the show and fix things up, they added the opening, they brought back Karen and Foggy and Bullseye, they decided to do all that, and then they stitched elements of that into the old footage. And you can see that through and through in the entire show. Now, if you don't know about any of the history here, it just feels a little jarring to you, and it feels like 2 completely different shows. And again, that is something that, having talked to people who just watch the show, who don't follow the productions and aren't as big of nerds as us, even they were like, yeah, something feels off. And when I told them, they're like, oh, yeah, you know what? That makes sense. It's sort of like Moana 2. That was clearly a TV series that was cut up and stitched into a movie, and the flow just isn't there. You get the sense of that here, but it's a little better because they reconfigured it the right way and got to reshoot and shoot a lot of new stuff. Which then brings me to the beginning of the series. So obviously, it starts off with a great one-shot action sequence, 1 take. It's great. Bullseye versus Daredevil. And then we, of course, get the death of Foggy. And the story plays out a year after that. And this is where that reconfiguring works for me because we now have a reason, and we saw why Matt retired. And we then catch up with Matt and his current life, his relationship status, what he's doing, what direction they're going in, and things like that. And you start to understand his life now, but also how New York is falling apart without vigilantes like him. And I thought that they brought that in a very well-paced way and slowly bring up those concepts as he starts to get the itch to get back into it. Fisk is doing the same thing. And what I really liked was the trial of the White Tiger. That is one of my favorite episodes here. Because again, it shows you that it's largely the old series, but reconfigured in a way to fit. And it's seamless in this episode. And then, of course, as we continue to go down the rest of the season, we get to Muse. Now, Muse, in my opinion, was completely wasted. He's going to have a cause and effect on everything going forward for Matt. We can tell, But the character seemed to suffer a quick downfall that comes out of nowhere and is barely mentioned after it. There's like 1 real passing line by Matt's girlfriend. And you're like, oh, okay, sure. And again, that felt a little weird. And I get that they're reconfiguring the 2nd season because it's not what they intended to do with it before, but it just felt a little off. At the same time, we're running this parallel story with Wilson Fisk as Matt is itching to get back into the vigilante life. The crime life keeps pulling Fisk back. And I really liked how they balanced both of their stories since they don't share a lot of screen time together. They're pulling parallels between the 2 of them to show you what's going on and how each one is falling back into their old life whether they're willing to or not. Which then brings me to a very interesting episode that seems to have divided a lot of people. This, of course, is the bank heist. This episode is in my top 3 this season, easily. And I like it because it shows us Matt is trying to do something for his current, workplace, and well, things don't go his way. He's just caught up in the middle of something and happens to be there in the right place at the right time. And this story, many people missed that this is an important part of the plot, saying it didn't do anything, it doesn't make sense, it doesn't connect to anything. It feels like a leftover story from the old series, which it is. It's a full episode, but people are missing the point that the diamond worth over $1 million was being sought after by these criminals because that's the payday that they owed to Fisk. They were putting themselves on the line in a public way with almost no way to guarantee they would succeed just because of this. And this, again, puts Matt into that, hey, Fisk is back to his old ways. Which also brings me to that episode and, of course, integrating the MCU into it. Kamala's dad, mentioning Kamala. I love all that because, again, it's the Marvel Universe and it's Easter eggs. And, well, this is what you're going to get. But now let's talk about Bullseye. So Bullseye, of course, shows up in the second to last episode again. And Matt, you can tell that Matt let him out on purpose. And I love how they structured that. And I love how Matt knew that if Bullseye dies, I don't get the complete story. And things are going to go wrong. And he just does enough to let him escape. Or maybe he doesn't. It's been brought up. What did he do? Did he do this intentionally? Did he slam his head down? And when he says, thank you, counselor, was that him acknowledging, thank you. I'm not going to go after you and those you love. I'm going after the people that put me in here, aka Vanessa, because she ordered that hit. And I was the sacrificial goat. I love how they play around with that here. And it was so refreshing to see Bullseye just unhinged. For as little of him as we get during the entire season, it's great to see how this rolls sort of into everything, and it's a snowball effect. And a lot of elements of this show, of this season, are set up for the next season and trying to take what they had before and hopefully make it fit into the context of the new series, which I think they succeeded with and ultimately found their footing. And by the end of the season, and again, I'm going to talk a little bit about the final episode without spoilers, I love that there's a reunion. I love that there's ample amounts of action. I love that we clearly get a sense of direction for what they're going for in season 2. And I love that you can tell that there's a lot of moving pieces that are not going to be abandoned and instead are going to be at the forefront in the next season. Even if they're at some points, people thought they were a minor thing. Again, trying to avoid spoilers here. So, overall, Daredevil Born Again, to me, fired off on all cylinders. And while it does have problems, I do think it is my favorite season of Daredevil so far. And I think that this is the best it's been in live action. And if season 2 can just fix the issues that season 1 has, I have no doubt there's going to be one of the best MCU projects ever, as, in my opinion, Daredevil Born Again is the best TV season that Disney has produced so far based on anything Marvel. Thank you for checking out that video, and thank you for your continued support. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, do whatever you will, and if you're so inclined and would like some additional content from us, which includes unfiltered content and bonus discussions, we do offer it exclusively in our member section. We hope to see you there. So thank you for watching, and have a good one.